So I'm here with Fufu Fares, gold medalist at Four Nations recently, which he came in on short notice because I remember when the team was announced, he wasn't there, and then all of a sudden he was there. So, and he's got a title fight coming up, a cage conflict against a very tough opponent from Phantom. So he's had a couple of busy weeks. How are you? Thank you very much for joining me, especially on fight week.
Thanks for having me on anyway. It was a wild couple of weeks. I was originally meant to be fighting on cage conflict, and my fight originally got pulled out with Byron from Full Power. After that getting pulled out, I had an option of going to the Four Nations on 10 days notice, and I was like, oh, will I do it? Will I not? Went for it and I got the gold medal.
How did it feel like that? You have a fight, it gets pulled. The frustration of getting a fight pulled, and it's just a couple of times you've tried to go for the title on cage conflict, and I know it hasn't come true for whatever reasons it may be. We're not going to speculate on why, but I know the frustration. What was like to get that dip in frustration and then to the heights of winning a gold medal? Tell us what that kind of process is like going through emotionally.
Yeah, I'd say 2 weeks before the Four Nations, I had like mad emotions because I went from a fight getting pulled from cage conflict and then possibly getting back on the card, and then I was like, am I fighting or am I not? And then getting the Four Nations, and then finally fighting twice, which was amazing, fighting 2 days in a row, and then getting the gold medal. It was a bit wild, but you know what? That's what I live for. I live for a bit wild stuff, getting the gold medal and stuff.
Yeah, you're very excited. That's what I like. You're very excited, but you're very I don't know how to put it into words. You're very energetic, let's say, and that's what I like about you. You're ready to go anywhere, anytime. Talk to us about, because obviously you went and done it at bantamweight. You're fighting for the bantamweight title, and you're obviously going to have the day before. How easy or hard is it for you to make the day of, and what was it like doing it 2 days in a row?
It was actually my first time making bantamweight twice in a row. So far, this is actually the lightest I've ever walked around. I'm walking currently right now at like 62 and a half to 63. So it's a kilo or so, which is literally nothing compared to people that are like amateurs that cut between like 3 to 4 kilos the night before and stuff. So making weight twice wasn't a problem or anything. It was actually really good actually fighting twice. I found that was the best part. I had a couple of little small injuries for the first day, and then going into the second, it was like trying to like make sure that nothing happens going into the second fight. It was a challenge that it got achieved.
And what was your biggest benefit, you think, from, because you seem to have taken a lot away from fighting 2 days in a row? Like I said, it was your first time doing it. Once you finish the first fight, know you're going into the second fight. What's your mindset like?
For my mindset for the first fight, anyway, I obviously have to focus at one at a time. I can't be, oh, I'm going straight into the final, I'm going to win this. I can't be doing that. So my first fight is try just get it all, like focus on the guy, do what I can do, and get the fight finished. I don't want to be getting any injuries or anything between the fight and then can't continue into the final. So my going into the first fight, it was let's get this, I knew that I could take the guy down and I could submit him. So exactly what I done, and I got no injuries going into the final then.
And then obviously, because like that, you're kind of finding out who well, you know who you're fighting in your first fight, I presume, going into it with the brackets. But then after that, you don't know who you're going to fight. What's that like? Because that's a high pressure moment. You don't really have time to strategize. You don't really have time to game plan. You're going to have a look, obviously, the day before once you kind of know, but it's not stuff that you can put into practice in the gym. Do you think that's good, though? Because as an amateur, you get to express yourself and your game as opposed to worrying about someone else's.
Exactly. That's actually the biggest thing. I think when it comes to tournament styles, like IMAFs or something, when you're fighting a couple of days, it's like you just acknowledge what your opponent is. He southpaw, orthodox, he likes this or that, but you're mainly focusing on yourself. Like, I can do this, I can do that. So that's what I was doing going into my second fight. All right, I knew this guy won his fight, so I'm gonna see him in the final. I just little bit looked at him. I didn't really focus on him, and I just done my own thing, and it worked out.
Yeah, because I think it gives you more of a sense of fighting with freedom then, that instead of worrying about someone else, you go, right, I'm just going to go in here and see what I can do. And if it works, which it did for you, it works. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. It's a learning experience. But I think it gives people to express themselves that freedom, because you're not in the gym going, right, I'm going to work this combo because I know he's bad here. I think it's actually really, really good. And like that, I'm going to presume you're going to be going to the likes of the Euros and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, like, And in those competitions, you're gonna have maybe 3, 4, 5 fights, especially with the weight class you're at. So it's looking
Yeah.
good for you for the next few. So, but we get on to cage conflict. You're fighting a guy from Phantom, I believe, is the opponent now. Is Stanka? I can't remember his first name. I know his brother's
Andrew, I think, is it?
Alexandra. Yes,
Yes, something.
I seen him recently. He's very good. Have you game planned for him now that we talked about game plan? Have you game planned for him? Or are you just going to do what you done at the IMAS? Go and express yourself.
Like I kind of understand how, like I obviously have to look at him and see how his style is, but I'm kind of going like with doing it like last week for the Four Nations. I'm kind of like, all right, I could do this. I could like I don't need to be stalking on YouTube and looking at his fights. I can just acknowledge it and do my own thing, and that's what I'm doing going into this fight. I understand his strengths and his weaknesses, and I'm just gonna do my own thing. And I just believe I can not even win the fight. I think I can finish the fight.
But it's going to be a fantastic fight. He's a fantastic competitor himself. And Cage Conflict as a promotion, I love Cage Conflict. I think the atmosphere is second to none. How does it feel to be going and fighting in front of that Belfast crowd? Have that, because it's raw. You know yourself, it's a raw crowd. It's raucous, it's noisy. But it really has the atmosphere. How are you feeling about going fighting in that atmosphere?
Firstly, I'd like to thank Liam, the promoter, obviously, because I had a couple of pullouts going into this fight. I had like 3 pullouts, and he was still trying to get me on. He didn't be like, "Oh, that's it, I can't get you on." So he kept pushing to get me on. So firstly, big shout out to Liam for getting me on Cage Conflict. It's actually going to be my first time on Cage Conflict, so first time, and I'm getting the title shot. So I'm grateful for it, and it's going to be wild. It's going to be a good Saturday in Belfast.
Yeah, it is, and obviously he obviously he rates it because, like I said, he's tried to get you on a couple of times before, and this time it seemed like no matter what, he was getting you on this card, which is
exactly
because he's obviously seen what you've put in, the skills you possess, and what you can bring in, the excitement, and what you can add to a card, and he's made it his business to get you there. So, like you said, shout out to Liam. But once the fight is over, and obviously you believe you're going to win, what would it be like? This would be your first title, I believe. It's not your first title fight, but your first title if you do.
Yeah, so it is my first title as an amateur. Yeah, I wouldn't really call the Four Nations a title. It'd be more of like a gold medal. Yeah. So yeah, it would be my first title. It's gonna be good. I think what I'm mainly actually focusing on when about 3 fights ago when I fought George for the title, for the Cage Legacy title, I think I focused too much on the title itself of like, oh, I'm fighting for a title fight, making it much bigger and putting way more pressure on myself than it's needed. So this fight, I'm like, all right, cool, I understand. It is a title fight. It is like, it's a big fight, but it's like I do this. I love this sport. You know, I do this every day. So I don't want to put like, I don't want to make it a massive a deal that's for a title fight, but I'm grateful for the title fight at the same time.
You know, 100%. And like you say, kind of with the Four Nations, instead of going, I'm straight to the final, you're not looking past your opponent. You're not looking past Stanky. To get to there, you have to get through him. So obviously, your mindset has changed from that fight. You've not that you're putting less pressure on yourself, but there's obstacles to get there, and you know you have to complete this obstacle to get there. So I wish you the best of luck going into it. For the rest of the year, obviously, if you can't say there's any fights that are booked, do not say them. But is there anything in the pipeline, or is there any cards you'd like to get on? Is there anything you can announce that's already announced?
So I'm definitely going to try to get on the Europeans. I really believe I can definitely get a gold medal on that, and that's the biggest, like that would be the biggest thing that I'd be going for this year, like the end of the year. Hopefully, I'll be in the talks with Declan for Cage Legacy for a possible title fight too. So there's a lot of options on the table for the end of the year. But for now, I think I just need to focus on Cage Conflict title first, get that, and then I'm doing the picks. Like it's not, oh, do this, do that. I'm doing my picks. It's my fight, so I'll go from there. But firstly, obviously, get the title first.
Yeah, it's mad how, because I've interviewed you a couple of times and we've always talked about your plans here, there, and what you're going to do 6 months' time. You seem
Yeah.
focused on the here and now. This needs to be achieved. To get to your ultimate goal, you need to achieve these goals and you need to be present in the moment. And that's what it seems to be. And I'm not saying that was a bad trait before, because like Me and you, we talk for
Yeah,
half an hour, 45 minutes about all your plans, but you seem to be stuck in the here and the now as well. And especially when, like, I would have seen Dan, you look at Dan O'Sullivan the weekend. What did you make of his performance? I thought potentially he was probably the best performance. I think he was the best performance. I think Dara and Manning was the best fight. I think Owen McDonald had the best performance as an amateur, but I think Dan kind of really stood out on that card the other night. What did you
yeah.
think?
Dan puts on a lot of work, like training. He's there every day putting in the work. He deserves it. Like he deserves this stuff. And going back to actually thinking about, I remember when like last time we were chatting, I was always thinking of the future. Like I was like, oh, all right, I'm gonna do this, 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 this. I think recently what I'm trying to like while I'm maturing, I'm getting old now. I'm 20 there in 2 months' time. But I'm going on my 20s now. But anyway, yeah. But I think I just want to be. I think like I want to be more in the moment. Like I'm not thinking of this. I'm gonna take a day by day and just fight and just enjoy it. I think last time actually when I won the Four Nations, straight away the first thing I done when I won the Four Nations after my fight is I actually put my phone on airplane mode. So I was like, I just want to actually be in the moment of like, all right, I achieved this. I'm not just like on social media doing this, doing that. I actually want to be in the moment. So that's why I'm actually a lot of these times now I'm going into that as with that mindset, like just being in the moment of what I'm doing, then just going away with it.
And I like that as well because you see a lot of people, and it happens to me, it happens to everybody. Everyone gets caught up
Yeah.
in social media and hype and this and that, and things come and go very quickly like that as well. Social media is a very kind of here and now. If you're not the trend, it's not happening, sort of a thing.
Yeah.
If there was a picture someone put up the other day and it really kind of hit home, there was David Beckham looking at Messi on his Inter Milan debut, and he was the only one just sitting there kind of embracing that moment. Whereas
Yeah.
everyone else had their cameras out trying to get pictures. Whereas I think, and I think it happens to fighters a lot, especially with like when fighters lose, they dwell on it way too long. And I think that winning feeling goes way too quickly because of the likes of social media and MMA's of what have you done for me lately sport. And
Yeah, I think that's actually a big thing. Yeah, that I completely agree. Like I won the Four Nations 2 weeks ago, and I'm already like, oh, going this, like thinking of something else, thinking of the cage like or cage conflict title. Like sometimes I actually just need to slow myself down and be like, all right, I won the Four Nations. I'm like cool, just relax and take it all in. But yeah, straight like it's like taking it in, but understanding what you have next, I think is a big thing. And I'm a sucker for it. Like I'd say 2 months back, 3 months back, I was always thinking of the future. I was like, oh, I want to do this. I want to run this much. I want to do this marathon. I want to do that. It's more actually just being in the moment and just enjoying every second of it.
perfect. And it's mad. I like that. You are probably one of the people I've talked to. I think Troy Gibson I've talked about 6 or 7 times. I think you could be up there with the amount of times that
Yeah.
but I can see it's mad because I can see you maturing as a fighter and as a person kind of in front of my eyes. Because if you go back to our first interview
Yeah.
and bring it to now, you can see the contrast of it. So like fair play, that's going to come with time. I'd always know that comes with time, but you can see it now yourself and how it's working for you. So I want to wish you the best of luck. Like you said, you've got a tough opponent. He's going to be no walkover. So going into this, he's in that way of the title. So you're focused solely on him. And then I look forward to the rest of your year. Is there anything you want to say before you go, or anyone you want to shout out?
First, I'd say I just want a big shout out to my team. Literally, like I think the biggest thing is I got credit for winning the Four Nations and doing this, but really like the background is that like Abby's putting in the work, my brother, like Ab, Liam, my whole team, like all my teammates. It's that them small things that people don't see, but they're what I'm getting. Like I'm getting my rewards over that. I'm gonna win this title from my training partners that I'm training with on a daily. It's not just me winning it, it's more of a team thing. So I want to give a big shout out to my team SPG Cork, my head coach Liam, and everyone from SPG Cork, and a big shout out to you for having me on.
Perfect. No, it's always a pleasure. Like I said, you've been on most times, so if I didn't enjoy having you on, you wouldn't be here so much. But I like what you said there before we finish up. I like what you said there is people forget, like, I think it was Bin there first said it to me. He goes, people see this as like a lone sport. It's not. He goes, I would be nowhere if I didn't have Owen Roddy, if I didn't have Jar Harris or whoever he had in the training room with him, Aidan O'Boyle. He said, like, without them, who am I? I'm not like I like obviously you can get to a certain point, but these people make you better. And I think as well, sometimes what happens is when you're fighting, you'll get all the plaudits. But then you start, just say you lose 2 or 300 shots, they're going to be the first person. They're not going to they might question you, but they're always going to question the gym. I think as well.
Yeah.
What's happening in SBG Cork? And I'm not saying that
Yeah.
has happened, but that will be their first go to call. They might go, what's happened to Avenue or something up, but usually first people will go to the gym, and then they don't get their plaudits. They should be plaudits with you. They should be in that circle where fair play to Fufu and fair play to SBG Cork. No, you rounded that up nicely. I'm gonna let you go enjoy your day. I can't wait to see you fight in person. I don't know how many times I've seen you fight in person, but it's a good few. I can't wait to see you fight in person this weekend, and it's going to be an absolute banger of a show. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me on.